The AirPods Pro with a significant redesign and noise cancellation are here. They're available to purchase. These things have stirred up quite the controversy online already. Let's go ahead and unbox and review them in today's video. Hey, what's up guys? So as you gathered from the intro as well as the title of this video, we're also going to be comparing them against the predecessor, the second generation AirPods, which Apple does still sell. And there is a difference between the two as far as price is concerned, obviously, as the Pro moniker would suggest, but it's not as significant as you might assume. So the AirPods Pro are $250. And that's just the price. There is no upgrade from there. They don't start at $250. They are $250 with tax, which will of course vary based on where you live. Whereas the second generation AirPods start at $159 without the wireless charging case. So the difference between the two is pretty significant when you look at it that way. However, these ones do have the wireless charging case and those are $199. So basically $200 plus tax. Now, when you view it from that lens, the upgrade from the $199 AirPods 2 with wireless charging to the AirPods Pro, it's only a $50 difference. It's not that much when you look at it at the end of the day, especially when you consider it from a usability standpoint. I mean, I use my AirPods every single day. I had the very first ones on launch day 2016, and then of course I had the AirPods 2 right when those dropped as well, and there hasn't been a day where I haven't used them. So I definitely get my money out of them. This video is for those of you who will use your AirPods every day, and I'm going to try to nail down and help you answer whether or not you should upgrade from the regular AirPods 2 to the AirPods Pro, because the most significant difference is the redesign. Now, I want to say it's a radical redesign, but I know there will be people in the comments who will say, oh yeah, but if you see someone with them in their ears, you know, you're going to be able to tell that they're AirPods. Yeah, obviously that is true. There's no getting around that. However, from a usability standpoint, regardless of how they look with the shorter stems and how they look when they're actually in your ears, there is a big difference here. The AirPods 2 are kind of a molded hard plastic. Most people are fine with them. Some people, they just do not work well with their ears. I fall into that first category. These work perfectly for me. They never fall out of my ears. I never notice that they even are in my ears during extended periods of use, whereas these guys do feature silicone tips. They come with 3 of them, and some people like that. Some people really do prefer the in-ear headphones. I'm not one of those people. So hopefully these can change my mind, but going into this, I think I'll probably still prefer the AirPods 2. So let's go ahead and start with the box first, because we need to get these things out of the box. On the front, we just have a picture of the AirPods Pro with that redesign that I mentioned. Now, either side has an Apple logo. The top simply says AirPods Pro wireless charging case, because obviously you're paying the Pro price. These things have wireless charging just like the $199 AirPods with wireless charging case do. And on the back, it simply says AirPods with a flipped up view of them inside of the case. And there is that sticker shock right there, $249. Like I said, don't get me wrong, this is expensive. These are an expensive and premium product, but if you do use them every day, I think you could probably justify the price. So let's go ahead and pop these guys open. Just sliding that little tab right there. I really do love how Apple includes that on most of their products these days, how you can just pull this little tab and it opens just like that. It makes the process a little bit easier. Okay, so lifting the lid, you'll notice that we do have this little sheet right on the top. It says designed by Apple in California. And when we take that out, we have the AirPods sitting directly below that. Now I want to pull these guys out and return back to this. The pamphlet sheet, that probably, is the least interesting thing here. Like I said, it says designed by Apple in California, and you have this little booklet here that opens up and it walks you through how to connect these things and how to get started, and also tells you about iCloud and how when you pair them with one device that's signed into Apple ID, it should automatically pair on all your devices, whether it's iOS, watchOS, or macOS. Heck, even iPadOS, which for all intents and purposes, I just call iOS. It's basically the same thing at this point anyway, except with a few iPad-esque or tailored features, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, We also have an AirPods Pro safety and handling sheet, warranty. Yeah, none of this is really that important. And no Apple logo stickers. Come on, Apple. $249. You think you could throw in some stickers. But then once you do take the AirPods out of the case, you just pull up, and this is interesting. These are the actual silicone tips right here. So you kind of just push this little flap inwards and you lift it up and boom, there you go. You have your small and you have your large tips with the medium tips attached. So let's go ahead and just set that off to the side. And right here, you have a Lightning to USB Type-C cable. So if you don't have one of the new iPhones or a MacBook with the USB-C adapter, then, you're probably going to want to use an old Lightning cable, USB-A to the Lightning connection to actually get these things charged, unless you use a wireless charger. I do. I use my wireless charger for my AirPods too. So I'm just going to probably continue to use that, provided I end up keeping these guys. But yeah, so that's what you get inside of the box. Let's go ahead and set everything off camera here. And here is the actual product itself, the AirPods Pro, which I think is kind of a little bit confusing, honestly, because I never know whether to call them like AirPods Pro, AirPod Pro, AirPods Pros, AirPod Pros. I don't know. It's a little confusing, and the syntax is a little bit weird in certain situations when you're referring to them, but whatever. So when you open it up, immediately you'll notice, there you go, you have the AirPods, and when it's open near an iOS device, you get this pop-up that was just so instantaneous, just like the predecessors, the AirPods 2. So let's go ahead and close those. Disappears. Open it. Boom, like instantly. Just, it's insane. And you do need to be either on iOS 13.2 or iPadOS 13.2 to actually initiate your connection on an iOS-based device. So that is something you do need to take into consideration as well. But as long as your device can run iOS 13.2, you should be able to connect no problem. So let's go ahead and just do that in just a second. But I do also want to ensure that we get a screen recording going here, just so I can use it in post if need be. So let's go ahead and pop these suckers open one more time. And we're going to tap on connect right there. And going to set them down if they'll just stay up. No, they're not going to stay up because it is kind of rounded. But you can see that it immediately goes into media control. It says to press them once and tells you how to actually toggle on or off the noise cancellation and go to transparency mode. And then it goes into how to use them via control center and how you want to do a little tap and hold on the volume slider to actually get your controls that way. It's a very slick UI choice, I think, on Apple's part to actually just, immediately walk you through it in this little pop-up right here. And it also tells you how you can use it to announce messages with Siri, which I thought was pretty cool, but until I actually saw a review online, it was actually iJustine's, where she was sending text messages to someone and it actually showed inside of the iMessage thread that it was sent with Siri. Then I was just blown away, because that's awesome. You need the person to know, like a little disclaimer, that it was sent with Siri, so they're not like, what the heck, why did you just say the absolute wrong thing? But anyway, I just thought that was pretty clever. So I'm going to toggle that on here, and you can see that the case is at a 77% charge, whereas the AirPods themselves are at 80%. So I'm just going to tap on done there. And quickly, I wanted to just give you guys a comparison between these two. So they're overall the same size when you look at them, just closed. The AirPods Pro, maybe a little bit bigger. The difference here is that you can see they're shorter, but they are longer. So yeah, I mean, when you stack them like this, when they're just kind of, side by side, they're roughly the same size, a little bit bigger. You're probably not going to notice it too much if it's in your pocket. And they do actually appear to be pretty much the same thickness as well. And one thing that is pretty cool, that's new with the AirPods Pro, is when you actually go to wirelessly charge them, the light does light up to indicate that they are charging, just like with the AirPods 2 with wireless charging case. But what's interesting is that when the light goes off, these actually have a new feature that when you tap them, you can see that the light does appear. It tells you what the charge status is. So you can see the amber light indicates that it's charging. If it were fully charged, it would be green because that light goes off. It's a smart idea that it goes off because, you know, you don't want it on your nightstand. You don't want it to constantly be on, annoying you or draining the battery a little bit at a time. You know, you want that to go off because that is kind of a little bit of a battery drain, and it would suck to have to constantly charge past 100% if that thing's going all the time. But you can see just a little tap does wake that up. That's cool. That's something that the AirPods 2 do not do. So take that into consideration. It's a very minor thing. That's not a selling point at all. It's just something that I thought was cool that Apple included here, because when this goes off, you can see no matter how much you tap, it's not coming back on. You got to raise it up, set it back down again, or connect it to a regular lightning charger that way. So that's just something that's interesting. Now let's go ahead and pop these guys actually out. These are the main attraction, of course, not just the case. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about the case, but I really want to make sure that this is a very thorough video for you guys. I want to make sure that, you know, I'm answering all of your questions and giving you all of the details that you need to make an informed decision. That's what we do here. That's what we do here on the iCrack Your iDevice YouTube channel. So I'm going to set down the left one. I think, yeah, this is the right one. Set down the left ones here, and we're going to put the right ones in my hand, and you can see that the stem is considerably shorter. It's about maybe half. What's interesting here, though, I found is that the piece that goes in your ear is actually noticeably bigger. This might be kind of hard to illustrate on camera here. I'm gonna have to grab this one to show you, but it's thicker. It's thicker all the way around. It's thicker from here to here, and it's also longer from here to here. So that is a consideration as well. And, you know, you might have to just buy these things and try them out. If these aren't for you, these probably will be. These fit most people's ears. You know, everyone that I know personally who has AirPods, which is a good bit of people at this point, they like them. They fit for them. I don't know one single person actually in person who says that, you know, they don't work for me. So, you know, the new design is something to take into account here. And also, you might be wondering, why the heck is this huge cutout here on the inside of it and also, you know, on the outside of it? Well, this is actually a vent pass-through because a lot of people don't like the noise cancellation feature where, you know, it kind of makes it sound like when you talk with noise cancellation on, you know, you're talking and you can't hear yourself and you're just shouting and screaming. This has a little bit of pass-through to kind of prevent that and also alleviate some of the pressure some people feel when they do have active noise cancellation headphones on. I mean, in theory, what it's actually doing is it's providing anti-noise, so to speak. Basically, what it does is it inverts the polarity of the original signal. It uses the microphones to actually, you know, take in and understand what it's hearing, and then it does invert the polarity of that signal, and the inverted signal is then amplified, and a transducer creates a sound wave that's directly proportional to the amplitude of the original waveform, creating destructive interference basically, and thus canceling it out. So if here's your noise, you know, here's your anti-noise, and they kind of meet in the middle and they kind of cancel each other out, so to speak. And what's unique about these is, in addition to having the microphones on the outside that measure and also provide that anti-noise through the processor, which, by the way, these things are powered by the exact same processor, the main one, the H1 chip. So you're not getting any new upgrades there other than the fact that now they can handle noise cancellation. But they also do have a microphone on the inside too that measures what you're hearing and constantly adjusts the noise cancellation, that anti-sound that is formed. So it does that at 200 times a second, and it's also able to intelligently manage the EQ or equalizer as well. So it's adjusting the mids, it's adjusting the treble, the bass, everything dynamically in real time, supposedly, with a microphone that is built into the ear tip too. So as far as how these guys stack up and compare against one another, You do not have the same like gyroscope controls that you had on the AirPods 2 in the original, in that, you know, when they're in your ears and you like double tap on them, you can get it to do things. You could get it to like bring up Siri or go to the next track or something like that. They both do have the Hey Siri, but so you can activate it that way, and you can remap the controls on these guys to really, you know, be whatever you want as far as music controls are concerned. But over here on the AirPods Pro, they are actually pressure sensitive, the stem right here. So this is not, let me see if I can get this to focus. So this is not actually a button right here, but it is a pressure sensitive area where if you just kind of tap and hold, what you're going to do is toggle on or off that noise cancellation, but it actually doesn't toggle off. So let me rephrase that. What it does is it toggles on either noise cancellation or the transparency mode, where it does let some sound through using those microphones. So it's kind of a pass-through mode. It's useful if you're out in traffic, or if you need to hear something that somebody's saying without taking them out for whatever reason. Then you can do that just with a tap and hold on these guys. But then you get into your single tap, and that will pause play. Double tap will actually skip to the next track, and triple tap will go back to the previous track. That's basically it. These do not have that double tap where you just like tap the AirPods themselves. That is now gone. So that's another difference between these two. As far as battery life goes, you get more than 24 hours with the charging case for either of them. But for the pods themselves, you get 4.5 hours over here, 5 hours over here on the AirPods 2. That's because of the active noise cancellation. If you were to turn it off, you'd get closer to 5 hours as well. So battery life is very comparable. As I mentioned, they both have the H1 chip, so you're going to get those fast connections as you saw here, as you saw here on this iPhone 11 Pro Max. Also, the fast switching between your devices and the ability to go from one to the next much quicker than you could with the original AirPods is here. They have the noise cancellation on the Pros that you don't have. Also, the design change, the noise isolation design. So you're going to get a little bit of passive noise isolation just because these are little tips versus, you know, the molded hard plastic. But the one other thing that these guys have that the AirPods 2 do not is sweat and water resistance. These are IPX4 water resistant, or I guess IPX4 water resistant. We can say that. But, you know, it's not something that you're going to want to dunk underwater or anything. It's really just meant for if you go out and you do some sort of activity in the rain, or if you're working out and you're sweating, then these things should just be fine. So yeah, now the only real thing is to test how they sound when they're in the ears. So let's get to that part now. One thing that I do want to do first, though, is actually make sure we have the right tips on. So when we go inside of settings, Bluetooth, and then we tap on the AirPods Pro, the little eye next to it. In addition to having controls here, you have an ear tip fit test. I'm going to put them both in my ears right now. Let's go ahead and do that ear tip fit test. And it's going to play a little bit of a sound, and it's going to gauge whether or not you have a good seal with those tips using those microphones inside of the ear tips that I mentioned. So let's go ahead and hit play. And it's just playing a little song right now. It's super loud. I can barely hear myself talking, but it says that we do have a good seal. So the results should be good just with the medium for me, but of course you can always swap those guys out. Before we actually get into the sound test, you know, since we are already here, I might as well just show you guys how you do that. So you just pull like so. It's kind of a hard pull that you have to do. And then you kind of just pop them back on. It kind of snaps into place there. And you do kind of feel like you're almost going to break them. But the good thing is that once you have the size that fits for you, you're not going to be popping these things off regularly just to clean them. And they do only cost $4 to replace the tips if they're damaged, or, you know, if you lose it or something. So that's not a huge expense. So good on Apple for that. All right, so I'm going to now move on and show you guys, or actually just, you know, test how these suckers sound. Hey, what's up guys? So now we are at the audio test portion of this video. Now, unfortunately this is going to be a little bit subjective and, it's virtually impossible for me to convey to you guys exactly how these sound, the AirPods Pro and how they stack up against the AirPods 2 right here, but I'm gonna try to do my best. Now I've heard mixed results about the bass. Some people say the Pros are more bass heavy. Other people say the AirPods 2 are more bass heavy. So we're going to see. I'm going to start off with the Pros and then I'm gonna go into the AirPods 2. I'm gonna do both simultaneously and I'm just gonna go through two songs. I wanna use kind of a bass heavy track just so I can get a feel for that. I'm no audiophile by any means, but Bad Guy, whoops, just dropped an AirPod. Okay, back. But I was saying Bad Guy by Billie Eilish is a pretty bass heavy song. So we're going to start with that on the Pros. One other consideration as I go to put these in my ears is that the active noise cancellation will only work if you have both in your ears simultaneously. So if you're the type of person who just uses one at a time, maybe for phone calls or listening to podcasts or something, you're only going to get that active noise cancellation if you use both, but one will suffice for transparency. Interestingly enough, you can also turn it off completely. You can turn both modes off and just have them with that noise isolation silicone tip, providing that little bit of passive noise, not cancellation, isolation. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm gonna turn on noise cancellation too. You guys can see right there, noise cancellation. The bass is pretty good. Yeah, I'm liking it. Okay, so I got a pretty good sense for it. Now I'm gonna switch on over to the regular AirPods 2. No comparison. See, I don't know if the difference here is really in the drivers themselves or if it's the sense or the fact that everything else is kind of blocked out with that noise cancellation. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to rewind and I'm going to actually use both at the exact same time. So I'm actually going to start a screen recording now so you guys can see what I'm doing here on my iPhone in the UI. I'm using the Pro on the left and the 2 or the second gen AirPods on the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to toggle both on for that audio sharing mode. And I'm going to set both at the same volume right here. Now they're synced up. And now I should be able to play and we should be able to get a sense for this. All right, so let's hit play. Okay, because remember now we don't have the noise cancellation over here because we only have one in, right? So I'm about 10 seconds in. See, the bass sounds pretty comparable here. Let me do this. I'm going to turn on the transparency mode on the Pros. Okay, so see if I do that, if I turn on transparency mode where it's letting in outside sounds, the bass sounds worse over here. So that leads me to believe that the driver might be a little bit different in these guys, and you might actually be getting more bass on the AirPods 2, but when you have that noise cancellation, ANC active noise cancellation on, or even when you don't have it on and you just don't have the pass-through mode, you're getting that heavier, more rich bass over on the AirPods Pro. The sound profile sounds, pretty comparable between the two. Honestly, if I'm just being brutally honest, the real difference here is the active noise cancellation because it's blocking out everything that you're hearing. You're not going to be able to hear anything else. And that does make for a better environment, a better listening environment inside of your ear. What's actually reaching your ear and your inner ear, you're able to pick up more, you're able to hear more, you're able to get that kind of higher fidelity sense out of this. So That's interesting. That's interesting. They sound pretty much the same though. When I have like transparency on, the Pro sounds a little bit worse. And when I have it off, it sounds a little bit better than the AirPods 2, but that's probably just due to the design, due to the fact that, you know, it's noise isolating silicone, right? Like it sticks inside of your ear and forms a mini seal, so to speak. So if you don't have the right tips on and these sound bad or worse than the AirPods 2, you have the wrong tips. Yeah, guys, that's my takeaway from it. I think, let me go ahead and listen to one more. There's another song that I use. It's One Dance by Drake. That's pretty bass heavy as well. Maybe I'll get into something for vocals in just a second, but really, I'm telling you guys, the sound profile between these two, pretty similar until you turn on that active noise cancellation. Or like I said, you know, you just have it completely off. Let me try that one more time. I'm going to turn off the noise cancellation. I'm just pausing because I'm listening here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the bass definitely is a little bit heavier with everything turned off on the Pro due to that noise isolation. But then when you turn on noise cancellation, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is just by going like that. Okay. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. I'd say it's kind of marginal. You know, it's maybe like 20 to 30% better. But overall, I'm liking them. I'll have to see. As I mentioned toward the beginning of this video, I'm not a huge fan of the whole in-ear design with the, you know, silicone tips. That kind of just grosses me out. Personal preference. But at the end of the day, you know, the big takeaway here is you're getting active noise cancellation. That's something that's really cool. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. And, you know, if you're going to get the AirPods 2 anyway with the wireless charging case, it's only $50 more. If you use these things every day, it's definitely worth it. You know, it's not that high of a price tag or a difference or a jump between the two. If you can't stand in-ear headphones though, you're someone like me, you don't care about active noise cancellation or the IPX4 water resistance, these things are the way to go. The AirPods 2 with wireless charging. So guys, yeah, that's it for this long video. I have no clue how long it's going to be, but we have a lot of footage, so I'm going to get to that now. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. And until next time, you know, this is ICU signing out.